Hey, happy people. So today we are making tomato paste. I just happened to look up on a whole box of Roma tomatoes. Just so happened to look up on them yesterday. Like a box of 30 pounds. So I need to make stuff with this because it's going to go bad fast. There's no way I'm going to eat 30 pounds before they all go bad. Plus the fact that they are kind of large, like it's the end of the season, so it's kind of a large one, so they don't have much longer, and they're not that flavorful. Like I cut up one last night to eat, and it's okay, but it doesn't have like a robust flavor like in the beginning of the season, your first pick or whatever. So let's just make tomato paste, concentrate it down so the flavors will be concentrated. So you guys watch the intro, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back here. So to make tomato paste today, I am using what's called a food mill to let's set that over there. Using a food mill to get as much juice out of these and separate the skins and the seeds from the meat of the tomato. So first thing I gotta do is cut these bad boys up. So let's go ahead and put that right there. And like I was saying, the reason why I'm going to go ahead and do this right here is about 10 pounds. I'm going to try to do 10 pounds of tomato paste, 10 pounds of tomato sauce, and 10 pounds of spaghetti sauce. So, but this video is strictly tomato paste. Like I was saying, they have been sitting, they're the last of the season, so they have been sitting for a while. So there was like 2 of them that had little black spots on them. So that's why I got to hurry up and do this instead of just eating tomatoes and cutting them up and put them in the freezer. I try to do other things with them so I have more space in my freezer. But enough talking. Let's just get started. Like as you can see, like I was saying, they're pretty large Roma tomatoes. They just, like, look at that. That is huge. I had to actually check to make sure those were Romas and not those beefsteaks and all that stuff. Alright, so here we go. Let's cut these bad boys up. You really don't have to cut them that much, like chop them. You just want enough for them to sit in the food mill and actually grind through. So 2 cuts and you should be good. Alright, so I'm done cutting them all up here. Now I'm going to get my pot and set my food mill over so I can just run it straight into the pot. I don't have to have another bowl to then put it into the pot. So if you do not have a food mill, there's a couple of ways you could do this. You can literally, if you have a high-speed blender, like a large one, just throw them all in the blender, blend it up, take a mesh strainer and just run it through the mesh strainer so it would catch the seeds and the skin and just let that drain through. Or if you don't have like a mesh strainer but you have a large strainer, you could boil these for a few minutes, give them time to get soft, and then literally just take them and rub them on the strainer, like pushing them down so it would just push through your juice and the meat of the tomato. But you might get a few seeds like that and a little bit of skin, so that one is a little different. You may still have to like go through it and strain it a little bit. But I got a food mill, so I'm going to use the food mill. That's what I got it for. So let's just go ahead and run all these through the food mill here real quick. Get my separation of the seeds and the skins. Okay, so now all of our juice has been strained from our tomatoes and seeds. As you can see, it is quite a bit here, but it's going to reduce down quite a bit. So, we're going to go ahead and turn on our, let's get up some of this first. This is quite messy, using my food mill. Now, let me just say this. I was using the food mill, but it was very hard. My tomato, the tops of them were kind of hard, so it was making it very hard. So I did put them in a pot, and I did bring them to a boil, just the tomatoes by themselves, no water, no nothing. Just brought them to a boil to warm them up so they would be softer, so it would be easier for me to use the food mill. So I did do that. They didn't end up being just cut from what I showed you guys. I ended up, like I say, warming them up a little bit so it would make it easier for me to actually process them. Because, man, I don't need one arm to be bigger than the other one. So, alright, let's do this. Now, we just got to put this on the stove here. And I'm going to add a little salt to this. Alright, give it a nice stir here. I did get a few seeds in there, but because I'm making this for myself, I really don't care about the seeds. I mean, if you care about the seeds, you can always, like I say, blender or run it through a fine mesh strainer. It's for just me today, so I won't do that today. Now, you just got to bring this to a full boil, and the waiting game happens. You have to wait here till this reduces about 3/4 of the amount, which can take anywhere from 4 to 12 hours. It just depends on how much liquid your tomatoes have in them. But you just want to bring it to a boil and then bring it down to like a medium heat and continue to check on it and stir it to make sure it doesn't burn. But basically, you're looking for all your water to evaporate and leave you with just the paste. So now it's a waiting game. But while we're waiting on that, like I always say, save your ends, your remainder, whatever's left over. This is left over from the 10 pounds, right? Like, that's quite a bit. So this right here, you can either fish out your seeds if you have a garden, and you can plant them. You could mulch, grind this up and make it put into compost or mulch for your plants or things like that. You can dehydrate this and turn it into a powder, have tomato powder. I am personally going to dehydrate it because I don't have a garden right now. Unfortunately, I don't have a yard, so dehydration it is. But I am going to save a few of these seeds because I just happen to know these seeds are grown naturally out of somebody's backyard and they didn't use any pesticides, so that's awesome. I know where these seeds came from and that they weren't sprayed with anything. So I'm going to keep a couple of these and just pack them away so when I do get a yard, y'all, I need a yard, I can grow them later. But the rest of this I am going to basically dehydrate and just turn into a powder. Do not throw this away. If nothing else, you can boil it and then have tomato juice or something like that, tomato soup if you like. Alright, so now, like I say, waiting game begins. You just want to stir, give it a stir, check on it every now and then, bring the heat up to it's boiling and then bring it to a medium heat and let it continue to just boil. If you don't have the time, like you're busy and you want to do something else, you could easily put this in your crock pot and just let it go for hours and hours and hours and just come back and check on it. But do not put a lid on it. If you're putting it in your crock pot, don't put a lid on it. On the stove, do not put a lid on it, because the whole point is for all the water to evaporate and all the condensation. You put a lid on it, it's just going to continue to run. It's a cycle of condensation going back into the tomato sauce. So, waiting game. I'll see you guys, I don't know, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. I hope 4 hours. But I'll be back. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but It has been a little over an hour now, and as you can see, it has reduced greatly. It has gone from being way up here to now way down here. So, and it's no longer a tomato juice, it's more turning into a tomato sauce. As you can see, and I've just been stirring it every now and then to keep it from sticking to the bottom of my pot. And I've probably got a few more hours. I would say at least 2 more hours here. But I just want to show you guys. Can you see that? I don't want to get too close and drop it in there. Steam. Okay. And that is it for maybe the next 2 hours. Okay, so now this is after about 4 hours. As you can see, now you can see the bottom is basically then turned into tomato sauce, and we probably got 2 more hours to go before we have tomato paste. Just a little update there for y'all, and I'll be back in a couple of hours. Alright y'all, it has been 6 hours altogether, and I do believe my tomato paste is ready. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't want to see that. That is basically tomato paste. There is no, well, hardly no liquid in there. I would say 98% is gone, just down to tomato only. And that is it. So I'm going to turn this off. Push that over there. Bring it back. Basically, I think I'll be better with the spoon. Look at that, pure tomato paste. Alright, so now we have made tomato paste, 10 pounds of tomatoes, and look how much tomato paste you get. So now the only thing, when you're putting them in your jars, if you are going to use it immediately, no problem. But if you're putting it in jars to store later, make sure you put it in the mason jars, canning jars, things like that. But make sure there is no air pockets at all in your jar. If you do, just take a spoon and stick down off in there to remove your air pockets. Like that one right there. And just tap it down. Make sure you got no air pockets whatsoever, because that's going to shorten your lifespan. Well, not your lifespan, but the tomato paste lifespan. I don't know, it might shorten yours if you don't do it. Alright, so now all down off in there. And if you are not doing the canning method, the hot water bath, or putting it in the oven for your jar to seal, or you don't have one of those vacuum sealers, then what you do is when you put it in your jar, you're just going to add some grapeseed oil here to the top. Make sure you cover all the top so there, again, no air and none of your tomato paste. As you can see, quite a bit of oil in there, so that way it'll help preserve it without all the bad preservatives that they put in your tomato paste, because that's pretty much my only problem with tomato paste. Most tomato pastes are made with ROMA tomatoes, so that's not a problem. but they have citric acid or some other preservatives in it that I don't want. So just like that, and make sure you seal it very well. And this can go in your refrigerator, I would say, for over a month. Mine has been like a couple of months. Just make sure if you use it, pour more oil back over the top before you put it away, because you want to keep it covered so it doesn't begin to grow mold bacteria on top. Like I said, if you're using it if you are using it right away, there's no problem. It's already ready to go right now. Like I could literally just start using it right now. But put it away. I am somewhat of a prepper, so I like to have stuff ready to go for me. Y'all should know that now. That's why I make all these like videos of substituting things and making them in advance. So that way when I do get ready to cook, I don't have to start with that stuff. And this is going to be one I don't have to start with now. I don't have to make a small thing of tomato paste in order to use it in any recipe that calls for tomato paste. So that is it, y'all. 6 hours to make tomato paste. I'm just shocked at how much 10 pounds make. Like it does. This might be three cups. I'm gonna say 3 cups. But that is it, y'all. So now I gotta move on because I gotta make some tomato sauce and I'm gonna make some spaghetti sauce. So I don't want the rest of my tomatoes to start going bad. So until the next time, y'all, stay happy.